Noah Brown's life, once an idyllic representation of rustic adventure and self-sufficiency on Alaskan Bush People, has transformed into a whirlwind of public scrutiny and online drama. The cameras may have stopped rolling, but the eyes of millions are still watching, and Noah's every move is being dissected by fans and critics alike. As a reality TV star, he's learned the hard way that living under the public's watchful gaze is no easy feat. Today, we're diving deep into the heartbreaking tragedy surrounding Noah Brown. If you've been hooked by the drama of Alaskan Bush People, this is a story you won't want to miss. Buckle up, let's jump in. Family drama and restraining order. In August 2024, Noah Brown and his wife, Rain Brown, found themselves caught in a storm of family drama. They made the shocking decision to file a restraining order against one of Noah's sisters, Rain Brown, accusing her of ongoing harassment, threats, and erratic behavior. These were not just typical family disputes, these were serious, troubling allegations. According to Noah and Rain, the situation had escalated to the point where they felt threatened by Rain's actions, which included stalking him, threats involving firearms, and behavior that appeared to be fueled by substance abuse. Members of the Alaskan Bush People cast, the Brown family had long struggled to maintain privacy, balancing the demands of reality TV with the complexities of their personal lives. However, this revelation took the family's private struggles into the public eye, raising concerns about the safety of Noah and Rain's children. With the accusations growing increasingly alarming, the tension between the siblings painted a picture of a family in crisis. Dramatic, right? But wait, there's more. This is just one chapter of a much bigger story, and trust me, there's more to the Brown family than meets the eye. As the cameras roll, viewers are drawn to the Brown family's rustic, off-the-grid lifestyle in the Alaskan wilderness. Behind the scenes, there's a far darker and more complicated narrative at play, one that the reality show doesn't fully reveal. While the Brown family's on-screen survival may seem idyllic, the struggles they face with mental health, addiction, and personal conflict are far more pervasive than what we see on television. Noah and Rain's story is just one example of how the pressures of living under constant media scrutiny can put a tremendous strain on family bonds. The drama that's played out in public shows us that, beneath the facade of unity and resilience, the Browns are dealing with deep, unresolved issues. What makes this case even more dramatic? The court's decision. Despite the seriousness of the accusations, the restraining order was not granted. The judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence to back up Noah and Rain's claims. Decision left them disheartened and frustrated, without the legal protection they were hoping for. But that didn't end the drama. In fact, it only sparked more emotional responses from everyone involved. The family feud, it seems, is far from over. This wasn't just a setback for the Brown family. It marked the beginning of an entirely new chapter in their already volatile relationship. In response to the court's decision, Rain Brown took to social media to share her side of the story, offering a raw glimpse into her personal struggles. She opened up about her battles with mental health and substance abuse, revealing the heavy burden she's carried in recent years. Rain didn't just accept the accusations, she fiercely rejected them. In her post, she claimed that the allegations made by Noah and Rain were not only blown out of proportion but were outright false. One of the most striking moments in her message was when Rain pointed out that Noah's wife had allegedly altered her name, suggesting that she was trying to distance herself from the Brown family altogether. But it didn't stop there. Rain also accused her brother Noah of betraying her trust, deepening the rift between them. Supporters of Rain were quick to rally behind her, emphasizing the harsh realities that people with mental health struggles face, especially when under the microscope of public attention. They also brought up Rain's history with substance abuse, which, they argued, could have contributed to her erratic behavior. Yet, despite the intense back and forth, Rain expressed a desire for healing. She concluded her message with an unexpected gesture, a heartfelt Merry Christmas wish to Noah, implying that, despite everything, she still hoped for reconciliation with her brother. The Brown family's internal struggles, it seems, are not unique in the world of reality TV, where fame, public pressure, and family tensions often collide in dramatic ways. In this case, the public nature of the feud made everything more complicated. Alaskan Bush People, like many reality TV shows, often captures only the most sensational moments of its stars' lives. The raw, real struggles that happen behind the scenes rarely make it to the screen, leaving viewers with an incomplete, and sometimes misleading, understanding of what's truly going on. At the heart of this drama is the man who's often been seen as the quiet, steady presence in the Alaskan Bush People saga. The Brown family first gained widespread attention when Alaskan Bush People premiered in May 2014 on the Discovery Channel. The show quickly became a reality TV phenomenon, offering viewers a unique look into the lives of a family living in complete isolation in the Alaskan wilderness. It wasn't just the stunning landscapes that captivated audiences, it was the Brown family's journey of self-sufficiency in one of the world's harshest environments. Brown's story, focusing on survival, resilience, and building a life from scratch, resonated with many viewers. From constructing homes to hunting for food, the Browns embraced a rugged lifestyle that felt real and raw. Filming in remote locations like Copper Center, Hoona, Chichagov Island, and Okanogan County, Washington, lent the show an authenticity that further drew people in. Despite questions about the authenticity of their portrayals, at its core, Alaskan Bush People is about the Brown family: Billy, the father; Amy, the mother; and their 7 children: Matt, Bam Bam, Josh, Bear, Gabe, Noah, and Rain. The show depicted them as a tight-knit unit, united in their determination to live independently, forging a life in the wild. However, the challenges they faced weren't just about the wilderness, they were about surviving as a family under the weight of constant media exposure. From building homesteads with limited resources to enduring freezing Alaskan winters, the Browns were portrayed as a family bound by grit and perseverance. Their struggles, whether it was hunting for food, dealing with harsh weather, or simply living off the land, resonated deeply with viewers who admired their resilience. Noah, in particular, stood out for his calm, collected nature and his passion for creating and building things. Born on July 18, 1992, in Alaska, Noah was one of the youngest of Billy and Amy's 7 children. Raised in the wilderness alongside his siblings, he developed a strong sense of independence and a practical skill set, from carpentry to hunting and survival techniques. While Noah was often portrayed as more reserved and thoughtful compared to some of his louder, more outspoken siblings, he quickly became a fan favorite thanks to his calm demeanor and pivotal role in helping to build the family's homesteads. Noah's personal life soon became part of the Alaskan Bush People saga. In 2018, he married Rain Alicia, and their relationship became another layer to the drama on the show. Their journey together, including their move from Alaska to a new location, was chronicled in the series, showing their attempts to build a life despite the unique challenges of living in such a remote setting. The decision to settle in Washington state marked a significant shift in the family's dynamic, as it meant leaving behind the Alaskan wilderness. While it was portrayed as Noah's attempt to create stability and comfort for their growing family, it also sparked some controversy. Critics argued that moving away from Alaska contradicted the family's identity as rugged wilderness survivalists. As time passed, Noah continued to play an important role in the show, but his life outside of the series began to take on more relevance. Like many reality TV stars, Noah's public persona became more and more entangled with the media scrutiny that comes with fame. However, he also faced his own personal struggles, particularly with his family relationships. Bond with his sister Rain, for example, became increasingly strained, and in 2024, accusations of harassment, threats, and emotional distress began to surface. This drama played out in the public eye, with Noah at the center of a legal battle when he and Rain filed for a restraining order against Rain. What's the real story behind the show? How much of Alaskan Bush People is actually real? The authenticity of the show has been a point of contention since its premiere in 2014. Over the years, viewers have raised doubts about the family's portrayal as extreme survivalists. Critics argue that many of the moments shown on screen aren't as genuine as they seem. The Browns are depicted as living entirely off the land, building their homes from scratch, and surviving in the harshest conditions. However, a growing number of voices suggest that much of this survivalism is fabricated for dramatic effect. There have been claims that the Browns don't actually live in the remote wilderness areas shown on TV, but in more accessible locations, with the wild backdrop simply serving to fuel the show's dramatic storyline. Multiple sources, including former employees and production staff, have spoken out, raising concerns that the Browns' living conditions are far less extreme than portrayed on screen. One of the key issues is that the Browns' remote locations were often not as isolated as they appeared. For instance, they were reportedly living in areas closer to towns, such as Hoona, or on Chichagov Island, far more accessible than viewers were led to believe. It also revealed that much of the family's homes were constructed with the help of outside contractors, and the Browns were sometimes seen traveling to nearby towns for supplies and assistance. This undermines the narrative of their supposed isolation. Critics have suggested that the Browns' claim to live off the grid in a self-sustaining way is more of a fantasy constructed for television than a reflection of their actual lifestyle. While the Browns have lived in various remote locations, including Copper Center in Alaska, the portrayal of their day-to-day lives as survivalists is frequently questioned. As more details emerged, it became clear that the Browns used modern conveniences and received outside help, contradicting their portrayal as rugged survivalists. Moreover, there have been growing allegations that the show stages many of its more dramatic moments to keep viewers hooked. From their interactions with wildlife to the construction of their homes, many scenes have been criticized as exaggerated or entirely fabricated to increase viewer engagement. The Browns' emotional struggles, too, are often presented in a way that feels overly scripted. These heightened moments of tension leave fans wondering how much of it is real and how much is merely for show. This kind of manipulation for drama isn't unique to Alaskan Bush People, of course. Many reality TV shows have been accused of staging or exaggerating certain events. However, because Alaskan Bush People placed such a strong emphasis on the family's primitive, self-sufficient lifestyle, the stakes felt higher for its audience. Fans initially admired the Browns for their ability to survive in the wild. Doubts grew about the show's authenticity. The public perception began to shift. What was once a symbol of rugged individualism and perseverance now seemed to some like a carefully crafted illusion. The fans who once admired the family for their bravery and survival skills began to feel misled. The more the public learned, the more skepticism overshadowed the admiration. This shift in public perception was most noticeable on social media, where fans began to question whether the Browns were truly living the way they portrayed themselves or simply playing a role for the cameras. The online backlash grew as reports surfaced that the show's depiction of the Browns' wilderness survival was exaggerated, if not outright staged. Many fans felt betrayed, perceiving the show's tactics as manipulative. As admiration for the family shifted to skepticism, the show's brand began to suffer significant damage. Viewers grew increasingly disillusioned with the apparent discrepancy between what was shown on TV and what was actually happening behind the scenes. Their excitement for the series waned. Companies that had once eagerly partnered with the Browns to market outdoor gear, survival tools, and wilderness-related products became more hesitant. Brand deals and sponsorships, which had once been a vital source of income, began to decline. Advertisers, now wary of aligning with a brand seen as untrustworthy, started distancing themselves from the Browns. Families' merchandise sales, which had once been booming, also took a hit. Fans who had once enthusiastically supported the Browns' image now hesitated to back a brand they felt had been built on misleading premises. But the family's troubles didn't stop there. Legal issues and controversy soon added to the mounting challenges. The Brown family's legal entanglements began to surface early in their rise to fame, but one of the most significant scandals involved the Alaska Department of Revenue. In 2014, the department launched an investigation into the Browns' eligibility for the Permanent Fund Dividend, PFD, a financial benefit provided to Alaska residents as a share of the state's oil revenue. To qualify for the PFD, residents must meet strict criteria, including maintaining residency in Alaska for at least one full calendar year. However, the department found that the Browns had misrepresented their residency status in order to collect PFD funds they were not entitled to. This revelation became part of a larger investigation into over $21,000 in misappropriated funds, leading to accusations of first-degree unsworn falsification. Misrepresentation of their residency status was a serious issue, as it involved 60 separate counts of falsifying information on PFD applications. Browns had applied for the dividend despite not meeting the state's residency requirements, resulting in unlawful claims of funds, effectively committing financial fraud. The investigation drew significant public attention and painted the Browns in a highly questionable light, suggesting they had attempted to exploit the PFD system by falsely claiming to be permanent residents of Alaska. This scandal was a major blow to the Brown family's credibility, particularly given the public persona as a family living off the land in the Alaskan wilderness. In response to the charges, Billy Brown, the family patriarch, and his son Joshua entered a plea deal in 2015 to resolve the issue and avoid a lengthy court battle. The plea deal covered everyone in the family except for Matt and Rain, who were not involved in the plea agreement. Billy and Joshua agreed to plead guilty in exchange for reduced sentences, ultimately bringing the case to a close without further legal proceedings against the remaining family members. However, the long-term consequences of the legal fallout were far-reaching. Fraudulent PFD applications and the subsequent plea deal placed the Browns in a precarious position, with their involvement in illegal activities becoming a matter of public record. Not only did this damage their image as hard-working, self-sufficient individuals living off the grid, but it also prompted many fans to question the authenticity of their claims. Despite these legal challenges, the Browns continued to appear on Alaskan Bush People, and the show's producers worked tirelessly to maintain the family's image as rugged survivalists, even in the face of mounting evidence to the contrary. The PFD scandal, however, lingered as a constant reminder of the legal and ethical pitfalls that had deeply affected the Brown family's reputation. While they continued to enjoy a degree of fame and filming opportunities, the long-lasting effects on their public image and financial stability could not be ignored. The fallout from the PFD incident extended beyond the Browns themselves, serving as a significant turning point for the public's perception of reality TV as a whole. As the details of the Brown family's legal troubles became more widely known, viewers began questioning the authenticity of Alaskan Bush People and the larger reality TV trend, which often blurs the line between reality and entertainment. Scandal shed light on how reality TV shows, despite being marketed as unscripted glimpses into real lives, sometimes involve manipulation or exaggeration for dramatic effect. The Brown situation became a cautionary tale, warning others of the dangers of misrepresenting oneself for financial gain, especially when living under the constant microscope of public scrutiny. Heartbreak didn't end there. In 2020, one of the most devastating blows to the Brown family came with the destruction of Bear Brown's home in Okanogan County, Washington, due to the catastrophic Palmer Fire. This wildfire was part of an extreme fire season that ravaged the Pacific Northwest, ignited by intense heat, drought conditions, and unpredictable winds. The Palmer Fire, which began in mid-August, scorched a staggering 17,735 acres of land, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. Among the properties lost was Bear's newly built home on the North Star Ranch, an expansive 435-acre estate the family had invested in after relocating from Alaska to Washington state. The fire destroyed years of work, personal memories, tools, supplies, and the fruits of their labor in establishing a new life. Bear, who had been preparing the property as a permanent home for his partner Raven and their newborn son River, the loss was crushing. Devastation was made even more heart-wrenching when Bear shared the news on social media, posting pictures of the charred remains and writing that everything was gone. The images were a chilling testament to the raw power of nature and its indiscriminate destruction. The wildfire came during one of the most severe fire seasons in U.S. history, with 2012 alone seeing over 10.1 million acres burn across the country. Washington state, specifically Okanogan County, was one of the hardest hit regions, with more than 800,000 acres burned that year. The emotional and financial toll on the Brown family was immense. Living a largely self-reliant lifestyle, the Browns did not have the same safety nets as urban homeowners might have access to, such as insurance claims, rebuilding permits, and financial support from local governments. Rebuilding their home and off-grid infrastructure would be a monumental challenge, one that would test the very foundation of their survivalist lifestyle. Bear, who was still adjusting to fatherhood and the complexities of family life, the emotional strain of starting over from scratch was overwhelming. This devastating fire pushed the Browns to confront a new level of vulnerability, one that was all too real and far beyond the survivalist narratives presented on television. As if the pain of the fire wasn't enough, the family would soon face another tragic loss. On February 7, 2021, Billy Brown, the beloved patriarch and the ideological heart of Alaskan Bush People, passed away suddenly at the age of 68 after suffering a seizure. His death occurred at the family's Washington property, where emergency responders confirmed that he had gone into cardiac arrest. The loss of Billy was felt deeply, not only by his family but by fans who had come to admire his rugged spirit and leadership throughout the series. Death marked the end of an era for the Brown family and a profound turning point in the story of Alaskan Bush People. The loss of Billy Brown marked the beginning of an incredibly difficult chapter for the Brown family. His death, while not completely unexpected due to his prior health issues, left a hole that could never be filled. Billy had not only been the patriarch of the family but also the emotional and spiritual center. His passing profoundly impacted the dynamics of the family, especially Noah, who had been increasingly stepping into a leadership role as Billy's health declined. Noah, as one of the older children, had always been a steadying force for the family, someone viewers could rely on to handle the practical aspects of life in the wilderness. After his father's death, Noah took on even more responsibility, helping to guide his siblings through their grief while also managing the family's affairs. However, this responsibility came with a heavy emotional toll. The stress of losing his father, coupled with ongoing family legal disputes and personal struggles, particularly in his marriage, placed immense pressure on Noah. What had once been a relatively quiet, reserved member of the Brown family became a figure at the center of emotional and family turmoil. Shift was also reflected in Alaskan Bush People. The show, which had always revolved around the Brown family's survivalist lifestyle and rugged determination, had to adapt in the wake of Billy's death. Season 13, which aired in 2021, turned into a tribute to Billy, showcasing not just the family's efforts to continue surviving but also their struggle to heal emotionally. The show's tone became more somber, reflective, and raw. For fans, this was a new side of the family they hadn't seen before, grieving, vulnerable, and humanized. As Alaskan Bush People moved forward, it was clear that it could no longer rely solely on the adventure-driven aspects of the family's lives. The grief over Billy's death became the new central narrative, and fans found themselves following the Browns not just through their physical challenges but through their emotional ones as well. The absence of Billy's voice, both as a patriarch and a narrator, left a significant void, and the family's grief was on full display. Amid the family's grief, Noah Brown faced personal turmoil. His marriage to Rain Alicia began to fall apart, with growing tensions and speculation about their relationship. By 2024, Noah and Rain filed for a restraining order against his sister, Rain Brown, over allegations of harassment and substance abuse, thrusting the family's struggles into the public eye. In early 2025, Noah announced their separation on social media, sharing his emotional pain. His posts, once hopeful, became more introspective as he focused on his children and personal projects. Noah's life, shaped by his father's death, legal battles, and now a broken marriage, shifted from being a central figure on Alaskan Bush People to a more background present. His journey became one of healing and recovery. With the family facing immense challenges, their future remains uncertain. What is clear, though, is that their story has evolved from survival in the wilderness to surviving emotionally and rebuilding from deep loss. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the next unbelievable story on your screen.